This is the Sperry House, and it was built in 1893 by Albert and Jenny Sperry, and they were lifelong residents of Willmar. The significance of the Sperry House to the town of Willmar and Candiac County. It's a testament to the settlers and the first people who came to settle in Candiac County and Willmar. They were the only house on this side of the railroad tracks on the north side. It was all underdeveloped, so it was a farm when it first started out. And he had a business downtown. He had a meat market. Then he went into farm implementary. Then he went into corn drying and corn seed development, and he was always trying to do something next for progress and to how to make things better and get things to people easier and make things more efficient. I mean, he was always thinking of different things to do. In Willmar in the 1890s to 1900, when they first built the house, the bridge wasn't built across the railroad yet, so that would have been a trick to get across the railroad. So you would have to wait for the trains to get across and then run quick across. And that was built during that time, and that was a wooden structure that came over right on the end of Puerto Rico, and that was the only way to get across. If you went downtown, it would have been vibrant. There would have been hotels, the railroad depot would have been there, restaurants. Everybody would have been horse and wagon, dirt roads, so muddy in the rainy days, slushy in the snow days. The lake was an entertainment place. The road on the north side of the house wouldn't have been there. They had lakeshore property, so there was boating and swimming and picnics. It was, and they didn't travel far, they would have stayed around this area to do all those activities. This house was a very nice house for the time. It's made of brick. It's a Queen Anne Victorian. We did try to put it on the National Historic Register in 1985. It was rejected. However, we are going to try again. We feel that this story does have significance to the history of the county, the state, the United States. One of the key parts is the neighborhood. He developed the whole neighborhood. That's why it's called Sperryville. He owned all this land and they sold it off in lots, and he named all the streets, so he was always looking for ways to do things and expand things in the town of Willmar. And some of the newspaper accounts, you see how they word it like the grand house on Foot Lake that the Sperrys moved into, and if you drive around, you can tell that it would have been a beautiful house for that time. The windows in the house are the style too. A lot of the Victorian homes, they're from like 1890 to 1910, 1920. And if you look at all those kind of style houses, they all have big windows. And like the big one in the front and on the dining room, you can't open, it's just be the side ones. And I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but it's the style of the house, and then I'm guessing that's so that the crosswind. There are pocket doors here too, and I suspect those are to keep the cool and the heat into, like you could close off sections of the house because they wouldn't have had air conditioning, obviously. Some of the things that we point out about the structure of the house is all the woodwork is original. All the stained glass windows are original from when the house was built. It has a complete brick exterior. The staircase in the entryway is all machine carved. Even in 1893, it's not hand carved, it was carved by machine. The floor in the entryway is two-toned. It has a dark wood and a light wood. That's the only place in the house that has the wood like that. The Victorians, during that time, you come into the entryway because all their guests would have came through the front door. They wouldn't have come through the back door. And you wanted to, this is our house, it's so grand. So it has a beautiful staircase, the beautiful floor, and the kitchen has bare minimum floors, just woods, not even stained or tarnished, but that's where all the work would have been done, so they wouldn't have done anything fancy in there. The house was built with a bathroom, but it didn't work right away, so they would have had an outhouse. Electricity came in 1903, so they lived 10 years without electricity, so it would have been kerosene lamps and fireplace and stoves for heat, and they would have had windows open for the summer. And then in 1901, they got telephones. It wasn't shortly after they moved in here that this stuff came, but when they first lived here, it would have been somewhat primitive, and it was a farm too, a working farm. There are a few things that belong to the Sperry's. The dishes in the dining room in the hutch, on the very bottom 2 shelves, did belong to the Sperry's, and those were Mrs. Sperry's dishes. The bedroom set in the bedroom did belong to them too. It's a bed, a dresser, and the vanity. And then with Jenny, she was very active too. She was involved with some ladies' organizations, so she was with Willmar for a very long time and always very active with her church. She did a lot of cooking, but before she married Albert, she was a teacher, so she taught in a lot of school districts in Kandiyohi County, and a lot of her students and families would still come visit her even after she wasn't teaching, so that she made that impact. Their family kept this house in the family until 1970 when it was given to us when Brian died, and they knew they wanted it to be a testament to not just their family, but the families that came before. Brian was on our board and helped get the Historical Society where it is today, and they've always been involved with the Old Settlers Association or the Historical Society, their whole family, so they know where they come from and where their sense of place is, and they wanted to share that with them. Well, the Sperry House represents like a historic landmark in Willmar. It's a place that everybody's been to or remembers going to, or remembers growing up around, or when people live there, or they live there themselves. I think it touches most people's lives when they're from this area. I hope it to be a place where people can come and learn about the Sperrys, but also learn about the past, and not necessarily the 1890 past. I hope we can tell the story of the whole house. People lived in the house until 2016, and they have a story to tell too. And then I would love to see it open so more people can see it and come and learn about it. But I'd also like to see where community people use it, like come and use it for a gathering or a book study, or that kind of thing, just so that it keeps being used, and so that the whole community can enjoy it.
Visit pioneer.org/postcards to catch up on missed episodes and to find out more about your favorite segments. This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yackel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. Live Wide Open, a regional movement that encourages people to make a great life for themselves in west central Minnesota. More at livewideopen.com. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com.